All right, so let's take a look at another example here. In the last video, I used the designer and I used a template, and it really was really smooth. I mean, it worked just great. But what you're going to see me do time and time again is make an empty application and start from scratch, because I want you to understand every nut and bolt of what we're talking about. And I'm just going to default through all of that. Ta-da! So you'll see me in this window right here, Edit. And in other videos, I may be in the designer. Ta-da! What's really the fundamental difference here? Well, they both accomplish roughly the same thing. The designer can be a little bit more challenging. You see, I'm kind of struggling just to move these things around, and it's not working. So sometimes the designer just won't budge. You see how it just won't move. And you can flip between text and editor and all that. And you can zoom in and zoom out and do all this fancy stuff, but sometimes the designer is a little challenging to work with. So I'm going to just add an import. And we can either work in this or in this. I prefer this because it has a nice big open interface for you to see what I'm typing. So let's go with text. And you notice how there's multiple versions. We have the little red dot and the green dot. The red dot will have this template where the green will not. So if you ever see me just typing really fast and then all this code just magically appears, that's why, because I just took the red one. And it's usually the default. So to recap, kill that, text, and then if I just hit enter, bang, there it is. And we're going to call this element. An ID is just that. It's an identifier, and it has to be unique for each little component or widget. The text, and we have the Q string translate, which means if you had a translation file, it would translate it for you. And we're going to just say center in parent. And I don't expect you to know any of this. I'm just showing you that you can type this out. And then you can access the different properties, and it's fairly responsive. Now you notice how when I did font and I hit period, nothing popped up and I had to hit something on the keyboard. What I hit was control space. So if you're typing away and nothing happens, see like that, you hit control space, bang, brings up IntelliSense. I'm going to say bold, true, and font dot pixel size, and let's call this 24. Now, how did I know what to start playing around with? Just simply experience. And if you're ever in doubt, you can be in a component. For example, I'm within these brackets, so I'm in this code block or in that component. Control space is your friend, and you can see all the different properties. And there are lots of them. You can also select a component and hit F1, and it'll bring up the integrated help file. And then you have a much more elegant way of looking at this. Let's go ahead and kill that. Save and run, and ta-da! Now it does the exact same thing as if I were to go into the designer. And I can go into the form editor, and ta-da! There it is. You can, of course, hold the control key down and move the middle mouse button to zoom in or zoom out. So if something's just not visible, you can kind of move around and figure out what's going on. And other times you'll see me actually go from form to text editor. It's all the same thing. So when in doubt, I will use this interface just because it's a little easier to see what's going on, but there will be times where I'm going to walk us through the actual form editor just because it's a little bit easier to plop a bunch of controls on there. And you can see in real time that I'm dragging it and placing it and how I'm actually aligning it and things of that nature.